It's a brand new working week. It's Monday, and we are starting to get into the work mode all over again. Well, not for us, though, because we've always been in the work mode 365 days in a year, 24 hours a day, News Central, every anchor that's here, because that's a life we chose, okay? Being broadcasters and also journalists. Welcome to Breakfast Central on a Monday morning. A lot has happened, yes, definitely. Another attack in Niger State. Very sad. The killings, the numbers yet to be ascertained. And we also have issues from the global scene that's also trickling down to Nigeria. But then again, I can only say welcome. So let's start today.
Welcome. Bonjour, bienvenue.
Bonjour.
And finally, the presidential handlers have revealed the location of our commander-in-chief, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Where is he again?
Night, and that's why I started with bonjour. It's in France.
Oh.
Yeah, and France seems to be his favorite holiday destination. You know, the Ghanaian president and his wife, they holidayed in the central region. They went on a safari. President Donald Trump has his resort in Florida, Mar-a-Lago, while President Bola Ahmed Tinubu likes to go to France. Henceforth, hence the reason I said bonjour and bienvenue. And it was only revealed because when he was traveling, Mr. Bayo Odonuga said he was going to Europe, and Europe is a country of over 33 countries, so we're speculating as investigative journalists.
Nobody was speculating.
Yeah, I was speculating because we need facts.
Majority of the people assumed that it was going to be France.
I was speculating, scouring all the 33 countries of Europe, checking Liechtenstein, checking Malta, almost checking Guinea. Oh, okay, sorry. Then yesterday, Mr. Bayo Odonuga finally revealed in a tweet that Mr. President had lunch with his counterpart in Rwanda, Mr. Paul Kagame.
Before Benga comes forward to talk about that, because it's an issue of national concern, very important issue there. Welcome to Breakfast Central, this brand new week. It's a working week for many of you. Interestingly, the roads in Lagos are very busy at this time of the morning. You would ask why? Yes, that's because people have resumed to work. Happy New Year is quickly moving. Just a reminder that you say Happy New Year 1 minute, the next minute it's already...
I mean, it was 30 December,
just a few hours ago. You know, here we are.
It's good. Let everybody go and work.
And we're all back to work. You know, just to mention that this is Breakfast Central. If this is your first time, we're streaming live on YouTube via our platform News Central TV, and we go to YouTube to get your comments. So please, we want to encourage you to be a part of the conversation as we're streaming live via News Central on YouTube. Drop a comment on any of the conversations that we'll be looking at this morning on Breakfast Central. You're very welcome to the show. You can also tweet at News Central TV on X, and you can tweet at us individually as well. But we'll get into the conversations proper before we talk about what has happened to Maduro in Venezuela, the president, or the former president, I will say, of Venezuela.
The embattled president.
The embattled. No, he's not embattled at this point. I don't even want to call it.
The battle is over.
So should we
start with president?
Honestly, the captured. Should we start with America, or do we start with the very important conversation?
I think we should start with America. I mean, it has global implications, and it has to do with the future of global South countries.
Absolutely.
I mean, if what happened in Venezuela is allowed to stand, and what has happened in Gaza, then we, as global South countries, really need to sit up and, you know, ask the question: that is there still international law, respect for international law, or is it just used for developing countries? Wow. So, I mean, what happened over the weekend? I'm sure all of you know this gist. In a dramatic escalation, early Saturday, the United States launched a large-scale military strike on Venezuela, capturing President Nicolás Maduro and his wife. U.S. President Donald Trump announced the couple was flown out to face federal charges in New York following months of U.S. pressure over alleged drug trafficking and narco-terrorism. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has called an emergency meeting of regional leaders, condemning the action as a breach of sovereignty, while China and other global powers criticize the move, raising questions about international law and regional stability. Analysts warn the strike could shake global energy markets in 2026, given Venezuela's untapped oil reserves estimated at 303 billion barrels, nearly a fifth of the world's total.
All right, so maybe what we can start from is, first of all, why did this capture happen of President Maduro? Why did President Trump capture President Maduro? majority of the conversations initially were because he was said to be involved in drugs, in narcotics, or we call it narco trafficking, right? Mm-hmm. Recently, we heard of the bombs.
With zero evidence, we must.
Well, they'll say that there were some ships heading to the U.S.
I mean, Maduro had nothing to do with it, and then there's no way an outboard boat it would need to refuel 80 times. If you look at the geography to get to the port of Miami or the nearest port in America. So, and they had killed over 100 people without showing evidence that they're narco terrorists. And who even said that that's extrajudicial killing? They didn't face any trial. You just go around bombing people. But that's, by the way.
So that's one. That's one of the reasons. Yeah. Now, the Venezuelans themselves have been reacting to this capture. The initial sense that we got was that there was jubilation, celebrations, as a number of them had been calling for President Trump to come into the picture. They had criticized their president of being very involved in corruption and corrupt practices. First of all, he had a 12-year term, and in this 12-year term, he decided who and who could be a part. Maria, for example, was not allowed to be a part of the last elections, where he had then said that he insisted on who could be a part of the last elections. The last elections where he emerged winner was highly contested. And it was said that the citizens in Venezuela, as well as international bodies, all came to the conclusion that that election was anything but free, fair, and credible. And as a result, it would seem that they wanted some form of foreign intervention. They said he had run the country down to the ground, to run its resources, and that Venezuelans had been seeking for refuge in America and outside the country. So yes, the initial reactions and responses we were getting was jubilation from Venezuelans. However,
jubilation from Venezuelan exiles.
Yes, a number of them who could not return back to their country.
And if you look at the streets of Caracas yesterday, for example, this number, the number of demonstrators that were calling for the return of Maduro and his release were a higher number than this. I wish we had footage. So if you watch CNN, if you watch BBC, if you watch Western news, they will be putting this wall-to-wall coverage of Venezuelans in exile celebrating. But if you ask the gentlemen, if you do, like BBC went to Caracas and they did Vox Pop.
Yeah.
And we're asking people, they said they're afraid that they don't like this, that this is kidnapping. So if you watch CNN, BBC, Western media, of course, they will show you Venezuelan exiles, the rich people, that the few of them were benefiting from the lopsided economic system before Chavez came into power. But if you look at Al Jazeera, RT, Telesur, TRT, and other Global South media houses, it's a different picture.
I mean, you speak about
it's always nice for people to, see both sides and then...
Which is why we're speaking about both sides. You've spoken about Chavez as well.
Yeah.
A number of them, too, were not very supportive of Chavez's government. He said that Maduro inherited the government from his predecessor, who he followed in his path to run the country to the ground. I mean, Venezuela's...
He further even made it more difficult than the
Yeah, but previous. In all of this, I mean, Venezuela is rich. Nobody is mentioning the debilitating sanctions of the United States that's made the economy very difficult for ordinary Venezuelans. They're just demonizing Chavez and demonizing... I mean, if you look at the pre-Chavez years of Venezuela and Chavez years, the Chavez years have been the most prosperous years.
Economic
revival, and he took away the economic power from Western corporations and gave it to the people, and that's why the West is not happy with him, and they tried to assassinate him a few times. And then over the weekend, too, the United States bombed his mausoleum, the resting place. I mean, even the dead cannot find peace. Who does that?
Well, part of the reason why the U.S., for example, would respond to the sanctions would be that Venezuela there were certain things that were, or certain steps that they had taken, for example, attacking innocent protesters, corruption,
yeah. Do you know how many innocent protesters?
And that these are some of the reasons
why they
leveled these sanctions against
they always like to
Maduro.
They always like to pick.
All right, so let's see what the charges against Maduro are. Narco-terrorism, conspiracy, it includes Maduro, Diosdado Cabello, and Ramon Rodriguez Chacin. We also have conspiracy to import cocaine. There's possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and then conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices. Now, regardless of what these charges are, the question is whether or not the U.S. is well within its right to go to another country and enforce sanctions against this country, against their president, not just capturing the president, but his wife as well, and then swearing in his vice president. The Supreme Court has sworn in the vice president of Venezuela, who is now the acting president.
And she's been threatened by the United States that she better cooperate or she would. I mean, that's the world we live in now. We live in a world of cowboys and Indians, so to speak. I mean, it's a world where the international rule-based order has been turned on its head by the United States kidnapping. I will call it for what it is. It's a kidnapping. There's no rule under international law that permits a sovereign nation to go into another nation in the cloak of darkness to kidnap his wife and his child, regardless of what happened. The United States, they're not new to this. They did this to Manuel Noriega in 1989 in Panama. They invaded, that came as an invasion, invaded and extraordinarily extracted him to the United States. This is wrong. It's condemnable on all levels. And if we allow this to stand, then it means might is right. Because what do you mean by firearm charges? As a head of state, is it not, they saw machine guns in his house. Is it not meant to have some level of protection? Because I don't understand. And when do US laws have universal jurisdiction? And what is the evidence? In the charges, there was no charge of fentanyl or in any of that. And that's been Donald Trump's, fentanyl, they're importing fentanyl to the United States, is responsible for this. I mean, he said it himself. So there's no need to sugarcoat it. It's all about oil and its resources. He said, we're going to manage the country, we're going to take over until there's a time where we can find transition. Is that not modern day colonialism?
Maybe we should actually take a look at the video.
Well, the videos, yeah. Yes. So maybe let's take a look at the videos, and then when we come back, we'll drop in more analysis. And don't forget, you can also share your thoughts as well on social media.
Drugs by sea, they call it also. That's almost down to nothing, as you can imagine. So they continue to come in by land at a little bit less because they see something is going to happen. They don't like it. They see something, and they're right. Something very serious is going to happen. The equivalent of what's happening by sea. And we're going to Congress just to tell them what we're doing, just to keep them informed. But we have to do it for national security. We have to do it to save lives.
This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States, and the president addressed it.
Senator, thank you for joining us this morning. Let me just start out. Do you think it's a good thing that Maduro has been removed from office?
Look, Maduro is a horrible, horrible person. But you don't treat lawlessness with other lawlessness, and that's what's happened here. The American people this morning, George, are scratching their heads in wonderment and in fear of what the president has proposed. The United States will run Venezuela. We have learned through the years when America tries to do regime change and nation building in this way, the American people pay the price in both blood and in dollars.
You heard Secretary Rubio there. He says the United States has the authority to do what they're doing
right
now.
They do not.
Why not?
He couldn't even answer your question. There is no authority to go. They did not just do ships off the water. They went inside Venezuela, bombed civilian as well as military places. And it's a violation of the law to do what they did without getting the authorization of Congress.
So the question is, who is going to call the United States to order right now with what has happened? We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at more stories, more reactions concerning this story. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break, and we are looking at the big one that took place this weekend, the big one that happened to Venezuela. The president, or you could say the former president right now, who has been in United States, you could say, is actually going to appear today on Monday. They said he's going to appear today in the court
New York.
in New York on Monday. That's one. Secondly, there's also the United Nations talking. The United Nations Security Council will be meeting today as well. On Monday.
You can expect the U.S. to veto any resolutions.
Meanwhile, on the other side, also, the Venezuelan team, that's his own team, will also be meeting today with their own Security Council. So everyone's Security Council is meeting in different parts. The question now is, what will the United Nations say? But looking at it back and forth, I think for me, since we're talking about this from Africa, by the way, a group of persons in Nigeria decided to gather themselves and decided to choke mouth, like they say.
No, it's not choke mouth.
In this
everything that happens in the world has effects on us. So they're within their rights to...
I'm just showing you, the video you see there, these are Nigerians who are calling for the entire world to come together and ensure that sanctions are being heavy given to the United States for what they've done against Venezuela. But let's take a listen. We'll be right back to talk about the implications as well for Nigeria.
People take over, free all oppressors, then go run away. When people take over.
Viva Venezuela! Viva! From the Venezuela Solidarity Campaign in Nigeria, a campaign platform of socialists, trade unions, civil society, youth group, workers from informal and informal sector. We bring solidarity to the people of the Venezuela working class and the Venezuela working people who are passing through aggression from the United States empire. It is no news that as we speak now, more than 50,000 United States soldiers have been deployed, and a lot of fighter jets, including warships, have been mobilized to the Caribbean Sea across Latin America. The lies from the Trump government is that they want to go and fight drugs in Venezuela. So they declare Maduro, President Maduro, and many of his cabinet members, many of the PASOK, members, the ruling party, the socialist ruling party in Venezuela, as a threat to the U.S. We all know that this is live. They did it to Gaddafi in Libya. They did it in Syria. They did it in...
Okay, so that's a footage of Nigeria here, where a little, what do you call it, a mild protest did take place.
I mean, the point is, has been made, and I must commend those. It doesn't matter the size, at least if one righteous person is speaking against the ills, is very brave. And I must, at this point, commend the nations of Ghana and South Africa for issuing statements that condemned, rightly condemned, what the United States did, the kidnapping and the murder of over 90 Venezuelans so far in that action to extract and kidnap the sitting president and his wife. It's highly condemnable. And this is South Africa's statement, by the way. The government of the Republic of South Africa notes with grave concern the recent developments which were confirmed by the United States of America conducted a large-scale military strike against Venezuela and its leader, Nicolás Maduro, who was captured along with his wife, flown out of the country. South Africa views these actions as a manifest violation of the Charter of the United Nations, which mandates all members states to refrain from threats or use of force against territorial integrity of political independence of any state. Furthermore, the Charter does not authorize external military intervention in matters that are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of a sovereign nation. History has repeatedly demonstrated that military invasions against sovereign states yield only instability and deepening crisis. Unlawful unilateral force of this undermines the stability of the international order and the principle of equality amongst nations. South Africa calls on the United Nations Security Council, the body mandated to maintain international peace and security, to urgently convene to address the situation. That's a statement issued by the Department of International Relations and Cooperation of the Republic of South
regardless,
Africa.
we just need to move on with another story. But then again, what we're looking forward to, just to mention again, very quickly, that today would also be a determining factor to what goes forward, especially when the United Nations decides to meet. The question will now be, is United Nations as, I mean, in quotes, many have said it's as weak as what we have in the African Union. Are they the same? Secondly, Nigeria, how it affects us, basically, is now that President Trump and the United States have gotten a hold of the oil, which is petrodollar, the oil of Venezuela, let's not forget that in our own country, we do have a fiscal, budget.
Our budget is benchmarked
against the dollar and what we plan for. So to the United States, of course, they've gotten hold of the oil now because President Trump says they would have to continue to rule
until they run the country
until they find, they stabilize things and then find a suitable person to put there. But the point for Nigerians, what we should worry about is the fact that dollar would eventually gain its power, strength again. Nigeria has been able to put a benchmark on how much expectations are coming from the dollar in terms of sales of crude and, of course, of petrol. But now again, should that shift, it simply means that the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu would now have to go back to the drawing board, especially now that powers have been taken away from the CBN and then moved to the finance ministry. So there's a lot power play that's really going to affect the economy as well.
We highlight, because we live in a global village, and it's always important to point out the hypocrisy of the European Union and European states, the United Kingdom, for not condemning this. They say they are observing the situation. They need all the facts before they can make comments. The same people that on the first day of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, they were kicked out of FIFA, they were kicked out of Eurovision, they were kicked out of the Olympics, and everyone is just, writing nice statements. What this goes on to show is that the international rule-based order does not exist and that might is right. We hope the nations of the world do something about this and highly condemn it as it should.
And as we wrap up this story, in case you're wondering what the current situation is in Venezuela, the Vice President Delcy Rodriguez has been sworn in by the Supreme Court. Of course, the U.S. has been very clear about being in charge, taking over the oil there. But we must also mention, yes, that's Delcy Rodriguez. Even though there was initially, there were those who had expected, because we saw that Maria Machado had put out a statement rejoicing at the capture of Maduro. Maria Machado is a strong opposition voice who won the Nobel Prize for Peace 3 months ago and dedicated her Nobel Prize for Peace to President Trump, whom we all know has been very, he has been outspoken about his desire to win the Nobel Prize for Peace, saying that...
He's also the winner of FIFA Mickey Mouse made-up Nobel a Peace Prize. Gianni Infantino just woke up one day and decided to excite President Trump by giving him a made-up peace.
Well,
award.
President Trump will argue...
Look at, is this what a peace president should
He will
do?
argue with you that he's been able to...
He had bombed Nigeria, bombed Somalia, bombed Venezuela.
He would argue with you that he's been able to put aside the happening of about, I think it was, he says. But away from that, the question is now what the current reality is. And there are civilians. The death toll has come up to 80 because the bombs that were released killed a number of Venezuelan citizens. As at the last count, reports have it that they are up to 80. And the reports from Venezuela are that citizens, though were initially excited by the capture of their president and his wife. Some citizens were excited, but now they face a bleak reality of what their future would look like. There have been massive shopping, people trying to buy and stock things in their houses because they're not sure what the future holds. Kind of reminds me of what happened during the COVID era. And it's really sad for any country to be in that situation. Our hearts go out to those who've lost loved ones. And we'll continue to follow up with the story of what's happened in Venezuela. But let's now come back home to Nigeria. Two shocking cases from Nigeria are shining a harsh light on alleged police abuse and corruption. In Delta State, for example, resident Tommy Akporogene has shared how he was threatened and accused of murder by CSP Christopher Odo, a divisional police officer, all because he tried to help a man who collapsed on the road and later died in hospital. Akporogene says he was acting as any Good Samaritan would, yet the officer reportedly told him that he would be, quote-unquote, dealt with for acting like Jesus, even after the victim's family confirmed that the man who had died had an underlying health condition. Delta State Police spokesperson CSP Bright Edafe tweeted that CSP Odo has been sanctioned and the money allegedly collected has been refunded. Now, speaking about money allegedly collected, yes, this man was released. Eventually, he said that he had to pally up with some higher up there, like the VVIPs who helped him get out of police custody, but that he emptied his account to be able to pay for bail. So yes, that's what CSP Bright Edafe tweeted, saying that the money had been refunded, showing some accountability from the command, of course. Meanwhile, in Lagos.
I mean, this is so flippant, and
yes, the guy has since been contacted,
yeah,
the DPO removed and sanctioned, and the money refunded.
Like it was some
we'll come back to talk about that. Let's come to Lagos.
Yeah.
A couple allegedly claimed that they were stopped or wrongfully arrested by policemen that were attached to Area H Police Command in Ugudu on the 18th of December 2025. According to the report, the man was forced to write a statement without a lawyer present while his wife was made to sit outside. Officers then demanded $2,000 via a digital wallet, returning only part of it after exposure on social media and attempting to keep the rest together. These incidents raise urgent questions about police oversight and accountability, leaving ordinary Nigerians asking, what does it take to do the right thing or simply go about your day without fear or harassment or extortion, not from criminals, but from the Nigerian police? Let's look at the post of the Delta State incident. I'm sure that we had that up earlier. But, gentlemen, it feels like we're beating a broken drum, like we're playing a broken record when we come on here to talk about police harassing Nigerian people, Nigerian citizens. And it's just an unfair reality. And what we always say here on the show is, until we start to see strong punitive measures are not what was reflected in that tweet where he said the man has been arrested.
Very dismissive.
If you can put up that tweet, that tweet was very dismissive. That is not what strong punitive measures look like.
And accountability. Strong
punitive measures mean, yes, the guy has since been contacted, the DPO removed and sanctioned, and the money refunded.
Just like
what strong accountability looks like and punitive measures will be that there's investigation, he faces he's being court-martialed, and then we see him being fired. The Nigerian police publicly says, so is no longer serving under the Nigerian police. This is to publicly. We need to start publicly naming and shaming these people.
Absolutely.
If we don't start naming and shaming them, you just discipline them, move them to another
what's happening
zone. It's a repetition.
I mean, if you're being a member of the police means you're responsible for law and order, and then they are held to a higher standard. Now, if a policeman, for any reason, extorts you, it's a higher crime because it's robbery. He has firearms, and the only reason why journalists aren't going around, why you're not hearing all the stories about journalists or people in other professions, is because they don't carry firearms. It's easier for the police to do this because they carry firearms, and their victims feel their lives are threatened, and therefore it makes it kidnapping and extortion and robbery. So they should face the full wrath of the law, and the Nigerian police really has a lot to do in managing its reputation. Every other week there's one story or the other on this sort of incidences.
Okay, let's get your thoughts showing on YouTube. We're streaming live, we'll take them later. But now let's share with you what the headlines are. Interesting, juicy headlines, I must say. I will join any party if offered president or VP ticket, Kwankwaso says. Fubara will bury me politically if he wins second term, Wike says. In other news, over his dead body, or something like that. Resident doctors resume nationwide strike January 12th. Really sad that we're coming back here again. Ijaw Group threatens to withdraw support from Governor Wike and Fubara over disclosure of agreement with President Tinubu The newspaper front pages will be a key part of today's show. Join us for all these and more.
The national leader of the new Nigeria People's Party (NNPP), Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, has said he is open to a political merger or alliance that offers him either the presidential or vice presidential ticket. Kwankwaso made the position known while addressing supporters at his Miller Road residence in Kano, stressing that any party seeking a merger with the NNPP must recognize his political weight and nationwide support base.
Nake sanar da ku cewa don da yawa mutane wani ma cewa ake yi haɗin baki ne za mu option 1, option 2, option A, option K da sauransu. Ai muka kawo wannan options ɗin saboda mun ga ya dace da wannan lokaci, wancan lokaci. Amma yanzu wannan lokaci harka muke ta ƙasa, harka muke ta jihar Kano. Dole sai mun tsaya mun tara ƙarfin mu guri ɗaya. Wanda yake za mu daɗa samun nasarori a zaɓuɓɓuka masu kyau. Kuma mun gaya mutane, ok, za mu tafi da ku. Menene kuka karɓo mana? Sai a ce za a bani wasu 'yan mukamai. Za a bani 'yan mukamai? Ok, guda nawa. Kuma wanne ne daidai ni? Wanda zan karɓa a cikin 'yan mukamai. Wanne ne daidai national chairman? Tunda national chairman ba da shi da esco dinsa da sauran shugabanni ba kallon ruwa suka zo ba. Su ma mutane ne da iyalansu da darajarsu. Duk wannan bayanai babu wani mai ansa. Amma abin da nake gaya musu shi ne mu a lissafin mu can na ƙasa muna sa rai mu samu jama'iyya wacce za mu haɗu da wasu ko NNPP ce ko wata jama'iyya ce, amma abin da muke so na fari shine wanda za su yarda ni Rabiu Kwankwaso in hau kai ko ina lamba ɗaya ko ina lamba biyu.
There you have it. He has set the terms and conditions for him to align himself with any party. Joining us now is the spokesperson of the new Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, Mr. Ladipo Johnson. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
All right. Mr. Rabiu Kwankwaso has been clear about his statement, saying that he would only align himself with any party that would give him the presidential slot or the vice presidential slot. There have also been people who have started to do the plus and minus and seen what it would look like if he were given a chance to be vice president to Mr. Obi, if Mr. Peter Obi, of course, gets the ticket for the ADC. He says he's doing all of this for the people of Kano State. You know, is he really doing this for the citizens, or is he doing this for his own personal interest? If he's so keen on only aligning himself with a party that will give him presidential or vice presidential ticket, can't he support from the sidelines if he doesn't win?
Thank you very much. I think you have to take the whole statement in the context of the fact that he was addressing a caucus meeting. And I don't know how they allowed, if I were in Kano, I wouldn't have allowed the meeting to have been recorded or sent onto the social media or what have you. Because you see, when he says that, he says he's doing it for Nigeria, for Nigeria and for Kano. Then he went on to talk about people like myself, the national chairman and his national working committee shouldn't be left idle. And then he went into history, as it were, meaning that, you see, there had been moments in the past where, politically speaking, we worked One is with President Buhari. I think that was 2014-15. Yes. Also 2019, when Vice President Atiku Abubakar had the tickets at Port Harcourt for the PDP. In both cases, in Buhari's case, the moment, God rest his soul, the moment he got into government, we were totally shut out. The moment he got into government. Or in Waziri's case, Atiku, the moment the campaign began, we were out. The moment we said, okay, we're working with you. I think Kwankwaso was only invited to maybe 2 campaigns or so. So that is the experience they've had. Now I'm speaking from the outside to the inside. Now I don't want to say we had. That's the experience they had, and that is one of the issues burning. You understand? When he was with me in Lagos a few days ago, what he was mentioning was that, look, Ladi, we have to see that we have similar views to whichever party or whomsoever we team up with. You understand? But at a caucus meeting at that level with grassrooters, these are the sentiments he must say. And by saying number 1 or number 2, president or vice president, what he's trying to say to them is that whichever deal we're bringing to the table, we must be carried along. So please read it in the context of that. I mean, read that, the words he used in the context of what I've told you. When people talk on a TV program or addressing a large crowd where you know the press is different from when you're talking to the caucus. And you know, well, I don't need to go further because you know that in any grassroots caucus, you have various sorts of people, capability-wise. Yeah.
All right. I think it would also be nice for us to try and open up a little, open up the cans, as it were. We do not know if there are worms inside of them right now, but
can of worms or can of what?
Whatever we find inside is what we want to unearth, especially with you here with us. We do hear that the governor of the state, His Excellency Abba Yusuf, is moving to the APC. Now that's one fact, and I wish I had more time. I would have put out 2 pictures on the screen right now. If we go back to River State, there's someone who has said he is now 001. I bet you know who that person is. That's the River State governor, Wike and Fubara. And also in Delta State, Governor Sheriff Oborowori is also 001 in that state. What does that mean? Well, it simply means that the moment you port or you move to APC, the governor automatically becomes the leader of the party and then takes control of that particular state. I'm trying to tie in loose ends here, if you don't mind. It means that if Governor Yusuf moves to the APC, automatically he becomes the 001. Therefore, your principle would automatically lose grounds. So is that the reason why that meeting needed to be called, to further state clearly that you do not want to be left behind? Hence why he's also made the statement that he doesn't mind joining another party as a president or vice president. What's your thought?
No, well, maybe because I'm on the inside. The timing is totally wrong. You will recall that we have said time and time again that, I refuse to tell you with whom or which groups or political parties we had been in talks with. We're in talks, and we're still in talks, and they're at advanced stages. Now, if Kwankwaso were to be running, he wouldn't even do that, running a race with Abba Kabir Yusuf. Look, the problem we have in Kano is because although the governor himself hasn't made a statement, a public statement on the issue, but of course my friend Rogo, his DG protocol, came out to say that Kwankwaso and Abba Kabir Yusuf, that the people of Kanu have said that both of them should go to the APC. And then we came out to say, no, you know, because Senator Kwankwaso said to us that there was no such conversation. He isn't ready to move to any party, not just the APC. So he wasn't, as at that time, to any party. But definitely, of course, we knew we had to build bridges. We knew we had to strengthen ourselves before 2027. And we're taking steps to do that. Now, the fact that the governor has moved, or is moving, or is about to move, good luck to him. Good luck to my friends and brothers who are moving with him. You understand? The bulk of the Kwankwaso movement, the bulk of the NNPP will remain and will follow the leadership of the will follow the national leadership of the party, which is whatever we come up with regarding working with or alliance or whatever we choose to call it with whichever party. Look, as crazy as it may sound, I'm not going backwards. It might even still be the APC. Who knows? But we are definitely in talks. We know the field is shrinking. So when I say we're in talks with people, you could, and I don't want to mention that, you know, as a seasoned journalist, you know the 2-3 options that are on the table. And I believe that before the end of January, before the end of this month, something, I mean, we'll, because there's no time any longer.
We'll be on the lookout. Now, Mr. Johnson, in that statement, Mr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, Senator, did say that, you know, it will be because of his reach and his status politically, they should be given the position of number 1 or 2 in any political party the NNPP 6 sort of measure or alliance with. Is he that powerful, or is he overblowing his reach? Because there are no talks of even slugging it out in a primary exercise. It's just saying, you know what, I am Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, the leader of the Kwankwaso movement, therefore hand me a presidential, vice presidential slot. Is that what it really means?
Well, I think if you go for an interview, or you're preparing to go for an interview, you don't say to people that, well, I was former deputy speaker, I was former member of Senate, I was this, I was that. They're not willing to listen. They want to see your confidence. They want to see what you, I mean, in a nutshell, what you've done and the way you carry yourself and everything. And I believe that he realizes, he knows. Look, the man is very experienced. He's, I don't want to start reading out all that he's done. The only office he hasn't been in is councillorship, chairmanship, House of Assembly, and the presidency. Those are the only offices he hasn't been in. So he knows, he's been a diplomat, he's done everything. And he knows what it takes. Now, the way a person speaks, you understand. You try to understand the style at times. I know it's not your duty to understand the style, but because he's someone that I sort of manage I do the image of the party, not his. I've come to understand when he speaks, and at times I say to him, people won't understand what you said, you understand. But
yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry, my laptop just went off. So
we can hear you.
Yeah, okay, I'm back. Sorry. So in that context, that is the way one should look at it, really. There's no arrogance. There is no, a lot of people, whenever they come, I'm talking about politicians, one of the first things they say to me is that, oh, he's arrogant. and he's not sociable. And I say to them that, look, the man hardly has a social life. He's either on his farm or he's talking Nigerian. As for the arrogance, I don't think so. I said, I always tell them, I said, that is his manner of speaking. And when you sit with him, you see that he has a sense of humor, he's not arrogant, and he even says to you, oh, don't put it that way, so people do not think we feel it is automatic and everything. But the bottom line is that he doesn't want the entire team to be shortchanged by any agreement, which is natural at this stage, because we're all looking for options, and there are various options out there. So why should it be him? Do you understand? So he won't come and say, I want to do it. I know that Tambuwal is there. I know that El-Rufai is there, but I feel I should do it. He won't say that. He'll tell you that I'm the one. You understand? So that's a natural thing.
And which of all the parties, which would you say has better chances in this? I mean, is it safe to say that it will be a better chance for the NNPP to get into a coalition with the ADC, which already is a coalition? Or would you say maybe the APC? Which of the parties, from your standpoint, would you say poses a better picture?
Well, I believe that some people are trying to work on what they call a grand coalition. A lot of people have said that all opposition parties need to come together for them to have a chance against the APC next year. If that is the case, then I know people are working towards that. At the same, on the APC itself is still trying to expand. There are many people who are trying to expand. For instance, in Kano, when you say, okay, let's hit the nail on the head, some in the APC are saying, Mr. Governor, you are the one wooing us. It is Kwankwaso who wants, because they know who has the grassroots and everything. So those things are going on. And if it is to join or join in, because at a stage, I'm sure we discussed it once or twice, at a stage people just felt that, or maybe he just wants to join because he wants to go to the ruling party, as it were. And I made it clear to them that, no, this man is a funny person. If you look at the times he's moved from the ruling to opposition parties. So he left the PDP when they were ruling to go and form the APC. When Buhari got into government and we were shut out and they didn't listen to advice or anything, we left the APC and then went via the PDP to the NNPP, which none of you knew existed, and were willing to do it. And in less than a year, no, 2 years, to be fair, we were able to take Kano. From that position where we didn't even have a councillor or member of House of Assembly, no elected officer, they were able to take Kano. So I keep telling people, you might think it's political talk. I tell people that by God's grace, by the end of this January, our position will be clear, and that my brothers who are in a haste to go to APC will see that we're even stronger than what they've done individually or as a minute group, albeit that they have the executive governor, if that is the case.
All right. So we'll just take you that Governor Kwankwaso, Senator Kwankwaso is moving to the APC as it sounds, because I think we can look at the closeness. Maybe we can just conclude.
I would say no, that's not what I was saying.
Because, except, can you also highlight the fact that if the current governor, His Excellency Governor Yusuf, moves to the APC, wouldn't we have a situation of what we have in the South, the Wike and Fubara situation, where a godfather would be more than ready to lose one member of his team to another political party. It means that he would also likely have to move.
No, I don't think that, I don't think, look, this thinking, because we're not just thinking 2027. We're thinking about Nigeria, we're thinking 27, we're thinking 31, and what have you. So the unfortunate incident of Abba Kabir Yusuf, who is a brother, an elder brother, someone I respect a great deal, or moving, if he does move, either ahead or in a different direction from where the family is going, is an unfortunate situation. And on a personal level, it hurts. Politically, it just gives us the
All right, Mr. Johnson, are you there? Okay, seems we have our guests challenges with the network. I want to
But the big question is, he said he won't deny Mr. Rabiu Kwankwaso's movement to the APC.
Yep.
If he does go to the APC,
It
there's no
defeats what
vacancy.
he says, but he also defeats what he said earlier when he was initially passing that warning message to the governor of Kano State, saying that those who leave the party, who defect, are betraying the party, and you know, if you betray the party, just know that you wouldn't succeed. What then makes it okay for him to do what he's spoken outrightly against not so long ago?
Oh, yes.
So the question really is, I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about politicians. I think the bottom line is there's an opening that's been made clear. The opening simply is there's going to be a move. There's going to be a merger.
So what happened?
The NNPP will eventually collapse.
What happened to the philosophy and the manifesto of NNPP?
Winger, I think one of the questions I wanted to ask him as we looked to wrap up was, the NNPP, you find NNPP majorly in one state, which is Kano State. And if you look at the Nigerian map, as it were, with the current movement of the APC, from the north at the top, if you come to the central, the APC is gaining massive grounds. The APC has gotten 30 states out of 36. 30 states.
My goodness.
So from the center, you have the APC there. If you come down to the southwest, you have the APC there. You come to the south, you come to the southeast. So, you know, in 2023 election, we had made mention that you must be able to conquer the north. Kano was a very stronghold because of its massive population, because of its drive, because of the Kwankwaso movement. But as we speak now, we can all agree on this table authoritatively that heading into 2027, which starts 2026 now, Kano is not looking like a stronghold anymore, because if you get the other parts of the country, even if you don't get Kano, it's not a big deal. So apparently now lies on the NNPP to rethink, and the only way you can rethink. All right. Anyway, Mr. Johnson is back as we look to wrap up this conversation. Maybe one last question for my colleague. I don't know, Olive, Benga, if you, I mean, I think I've highlighted one key point here. Benga.
My final question is, if your principal, Mr. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, decides to move to the APC, there's no vacancy in the presidency, and he says he's only going to do number 1 or 2. Does it mean he is looking for the current vice president to exit the seat, and will there be a possibility of him becoming the vice presidential candidate in 2027 for the APC?
Well, look, I tell you, when a politician says, I am going to, as I said earlier, I want to contest the presidency, that doesn't mean that when you sit down at the table with others and they say, okay, what are you bringing? This is what we need. This is what we need. That doesn't mean that you do not have other options. You might have other options. They might say, okay, give us someone. If you don't want to, Give us someone for Senate President. Well, anything can happen. Anything can happen in politics, you understand? As you were saying earlier, you said that we shouldn't forget that politicians were people as well, we're Nigerians, you know. So, but anything could happen. But the bottom line is that you are there, you discuss, you try to push your platform as much as possible. When I say platform, I'm talking about your manifesto, because you mentioned it's very important to us as well. You push your manifesto as well, and then see where it goes with your talks. You understand? We have made it clear that at the moment, we're not happy with inflation. We're not happy with the way Nigerians are going, suffering with insecurity, etc., etc. So it's not that we're just rushing to say that, oh yes, APC here we come, we want to join the bandwagon. No, nobody is saying that. We try to say that, as stupid as we might seem, we try to say, look, even if you are the one in government, we don't like this, we don't like that, we don't like that. Now, whether you can get 1 or 2 points across if you're going that way remains to be seen. If you're going the other way, or one of the other ways, maybe they'll be even more willing to listen to you. But I've told you, and I made it clear to you, for Kwankwaso and for us, it's not about joining the winning party. It's about, we're foolish enough to believe that, yes, let's come together with these people and let's make a point. Nigerians don't want to continue to suffer, or we don't want things to go in this direction. We can do that.
Okay.
So, that is the position.
So
right.
just to quickly ask before we wrap up, that if it ended up happening that your principal moves to the APC or forms an alliance with the APC, does that not defeat the initial feedback that we got regarding him stating, speaking against those who defect from the party, and likening it to some sort of betrayal and saying that those who defect will not succeed in some measure? Does that not then counter what he was saying and making him do again what he criticized?
No. When he says that, look, when he says those who leave the party or leave the caucus, it refers to those who are outliers, who have left without everyone coming together as much as possible to say, look, let us move this way. In politics, you don't get everything you want. For instance, a lot of my friends know that, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, a lot of people who know me know that if Ladipo has the say as to which way they're going with the national leadership or with Senator Kwankwaso, it definitely will not be APC. My friends in APC will tell you that. My own views are clear because I know Mr. President, I've known him since Lagos State, since 2003 when I contested House of Reps. And I know he's a tax and spend man. So I don't think it's right for Nigeria. But majority of people might think it's all right. For me, I don't think it is. He hasn't done anything to make me feel that things are different. But he's a friend to Senator Kwankwaso's friend. And I keep telling Senator Kwankwaso, I don't believe in this man. So we all have our individual beliefs and prejudices, if I may put it that way. And mine is very clear. But I pray that we take the right decision as a group. I pray we take the right decision.
Well, you said it's going to happen before. You said it's going to happen before the end of January. So we'll wait, and when it does,
before the end of January.
Before the end of January. Okay. So we'll be holding on to hear more from you, and don't forget to also feel free to keep your phone lines open so we can reach out. Thanks for your time, and thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's bring to you what's coming up next here on Breakfast Central. Coming up next this morning, Fubara will bury me politically if he wins second term, Wike says. Resident doctors to resume nationwide strike January 12. Are you ready? And political realignment, Kano State government promises to accommodate APC members. We'll talk about all of that and more. If it wins the term, Wike says. And political realignment, Kano State government promises to accommodate APC. Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, has announced it will resume a nationwide indefinite strike from January 12, 2026, following the federal government's failure to implement agreed welfare demands. Recall that NARD had embarked on a 29-day nationwide strike in November of 2025, which was suspended due to a memorandum of understanding signed with the federal government, accompanied by the promise to act within 4 weeks. Well, the 4 weeks deadline elapsed without visible progress, leading to the association's decision to resume the strike tagged TICS 2.0. No implementation, no going back.
The strike is expected to be accompanied by center-based protests from January 12th to January 16th, followed by regional and national demonstrations, as NARD announced. Key demands include payment of salary and promotion arrears, reinstatement of affected doctors, full implementation of professional and specialist allowances, and of course, progress on collective bargaining agreements. Joining us now is the president of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, Dr. Muhammad Suleiman. Thank you very much, Dr. Suleiman, for joining us. Unfortunately, we're having you again. We're not excited to have you back to discuss a matter that we've discussed over and over again. But talk to us about the specific commitments in the November 29th agreement that were due within 4 weeks, and the government has failed to act on. Has anyone been acted on?
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Like you rightly said, I am equally not excited to be back to still be talking about this. We signed an MOU freely, willingly. Nobody was cajoled, nobody was forced into signing it, and they are very reasonable things. And we gave a timeline, we agreed on a timeline on everything. With respect to the Lokoja issue, we agreed a timeline of 2 weeks. Recall the House of Reps Committee on Tertiary Health Institutions, the Ministry of Health Committee that was set up to look at these issues, both recommended reinstatement of our members back to Lokoja. In fact, the committee from Ministry of Health even recommended payment of their back salaries for the period that they were away from work, all in an effort to bolster peace in the health sector. And then we woke up last week to receive a letter that said, no, we will reinstate them, but they cannot go back to Lokoja. Mind you, these are union leaders. We've had these arguments back and forth. Even as at then, we agreed that they are union leaders. For instance, I am leading an agitation now. Does that mean if I receive a query and I face a panel and I lose my job in FTH Katana, and then NAD comes to now say, bring back Suleiman, BBS, and then it gets to a point where I'm to be reinstated, does it mean I will not come back to Katana? Does it mean I will now be posted somewhere else? And now, these are labor issues that have been litigated times past in Nigeria. You don't do this to sitting union leaders. There's also the issue of the professional allowance table. These are errors from way back 2019. It has been corrected. And the circular itself carried that arrears will be captured in 2026 budget. That budget proposal is before the National Assembly, and it does not contain these arrears. In fact, it doesn't even contain implementation as of today. We agreed committees will be set up to look into the excess workload, work hours, and the locum issues that we're having. As I'm talking to you, there's a Dr. Halima in Federal Teaching Hospital, Gombe, that is going to be on call every day for the month of January. I mean, is that really sustainable? Is that how we want to move forward? The issue of the specialist allowance is also there. The head of service has done the due diligence, has clarified the issue. It's for the Ministry of Health and the Salaries and Wages Commission to meet and look at administrative processes. This has not been done. The issue of the entry level into civil service, the head of service clarified is Commerce 3. It's there in black and white. But this has not been communicated to chief executives, and they keep still dishing out appointment letters at Commerce 2. Federal Neuropsychiatry Hospital, Barna in Kaduna is an example. National Air Care Center is mulling it, is thinking about it in Kaduna. Federal Teaching Hospital, Ido Ekiti, attempted to do it because these chief executives have not been communicated by the Ministry of Health. Now, collective bargaining, we were told it will start as soon as possible. In fact, we were even told that when it starts, it may last up to 6 months. We said, well, we'll tell our members the truth, but let this start. We were assured it was going to start. This is 1 month. Promotion areas, this is more than 1 month, about 5-6 weeks. Promotion areas, salary areas, we were assured that this will be forwarded to the Ministry of Finance and Budget Office with a view to payment within 1 month. Now, the Minister of Finance assured us that when I see this and see the quantum, I'll give you a payment plan. We're pushing towards that, but Ministry of Health is yet to transfer it. Every other agency of government outside the Ministry of Health has done their due diligence, but the Ministry of Health is yet to transmit all of these things to implementation level. We are stuck where we are at the day we signed the MOU. That is exactly where we are. And that is why the National Executive Council said, we will protest. Probably when we protest, maybe Mr. President will hear us. Maybe the president of the country will now look the side of doctors. What is the problem of these young boys? Let us look at their welfare demand and sort things out. Perhaps it will happen. But TICS 2.0, no implementation, no going back, is set to commence early morning hours, 12 a.m. on Monday, 12th January 2026.
So, Dr. Suleiman, it looks like we're back to where we left off last year. Quite a number of issues. Yet, I mean, meetings happened, promises were made, but the government doesn't seem to be fulfilling its own side of the bargain. Hence, why NARD has threatened to go on strike at beginning 12th of January. Now, as we enter the new year, I mean, we're in a new year now. What's NARD's approach, and what measurable actions from the federal government would be enough for NARD to suspend the strike?
If you hear everything I've said, it is one letter or the other that the Ministry of Health will write to Ministry of Finance, to Budget Office, to Salaries and Wages Commission, to Chief Executives, to the Accountant General. These are letters. It is not that Ministry of Health is going to pay any money. They are supposed to write a letter to FTH Lokoja telling them that these 5 men, our committee has sat down, they are reinstated. Call them, let them resume work. These are letters. These are letters that within 5 working days, they can move out. I mean, it is that simple. For lack of a better way to explain it, it is that simple. And then these letters are not flying. People packed up their bags and went for the Christmas and New Year holidays. At least, if you look at the decision of the NADNEC tarried and didn't start this strike 1st of January. It shouldn't be. It is not fair to give this New Year bonus, to Nigerians. That's why we tarried till 12. Hopefully, people will be in office today to Friday, and then some of the needful may be done that will now make the National Executive Council to review its position. But then again, the opinion of the National Executive Council is this: in Nigeria, you get what you demand, not what you deserve. And what you demand is usually less than what you deserve. And that is why in 2014, 4,600, 4,700 doctors left Nigeria. We'll wait to the end of January this year or February to get the statistics of how many doctors left Nigeria in 2025. I'm telling you, the number will be staggering. And that trend is going to continue for a few years unless the federal government does a holistic approach. You can never do a holistic approach without looking at remuneration, career progression, security, and work hour regulation. If you don't look at these things, it is not just doctors that will be leaving. It is every cadre in the health sector that will be leaving this country. But it may interest you to know that our colleagues in Cameroon, in Benin Republic, fare better than doctors in Nigeria. I mean, these are countries that are smaller than states in Nigeria in terms of their economy. But unfortunately, they tend to do better in terms of economic indices, in terms of, in fact, in Kenya, doctors fare better than in Nigeria. What is it that Kenya brings to the table that is beyond what Nigeria can do? What are they doing differently that we cannot do in Nigeria? We build hospitals. We put in machineries, cancer centers. I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be associated with that. I'm a doctor. That scratches one particular area of my imagination. But then when you now neglect the welfare of doctors, the welfare of nurses, the welfare of the entire healthcare workforce, it becomes a problem. Let me hit you with these statistics. By the admission of the Ministry of Health itself, 40 million people sought healthcare service delivery in a particular quarter of last year. Who do you think saw these 40 million people? They are not robots, they are not computers, they are not buttons somewhere. It's not AI, it's human beings. And these people seeing these patients can't pay school fees, can't afford rent, have to trek to get to work. When they get to this work, they are on call practically. Look at the case of Dr. Halima that I just told you. On call every day. Those frustrations play a role. So it's either you leave or you stay and continue to work in that frustrated, under-remunerated, underappreciated system, where you sit down and freely and willingly go into an agreement with government, and then government fails it. We were attacked as an NOC by our National Executive Council, by us officers. Why did you sign the agreement? And we're like, how do you make progress without agreeing on something? Now that the National Executive Council summoned us again, they attacked us. We told you they will not respect this agreement. You said, no, let us respect the fact that we signed the agreement. So we are back there. We are back there. The only thing we could extract from the National Executive Council is let us tarry a bit and not start immediately. National Executive Council said, okay, fine, let us not start immediately, but we're going to protest. We're going to carry placards, doctors in their lab coats carrying placards, moving from one end of the hospital to the other, shouting at the top of their lungs, telling Nigerians to come to their aid, telling government to respect agreements that they have freely and willingly and legally entered into. You can't say full implementation of the recommendation on the FTH Lokoja matter within 2 weeks and then come and modify it and change it and begin to do something else. You can't say full forwarding of promotion and salary arrears and then time has come for you to forward it, and then everybody packs his bag and goes for the Christmas and holiday break, and then come in January and say, no, you cannot go on strike, give us more time. In fact, if they had even said, give us more time, it would have been different, but no communication, nothing. You know, so that is where we are.
It's quite sad to understand that we have to go through this circle all over again. It's like a cycle, rather, that we're going through all over again. But didn't the United States, we did hear the United States had given over $2 billion grant to the health sector. Isn't this enough to possibly quell this incessant cases of consistent strike from the doctors and so on? Or is the minister not in talks with NAD anymore?
Resident doctors belong to the clinics. They belong to the emergency wards. They belong to the theater. They belong to hospitals. If the United States is giving $2 billion and you expect to hear from resident doctors how that affects resident doctors' lives, I mean, we are probably not being realistic. In Nigeria, how do you expect a resident doctor in the hospital to know what happened to that $2 billion? In any case, that is not what our issue is. The budget is before the National Assembly now for consideration. Why is it that the professional allowance table that was agreed, 18 months arrears, 18 months out of 7 years, we still accepted, we still trusted it and said, no problem, we would collect the 18 months, is not in the budget. Implementation for this January is not in the budget. Specialist allowance is not even being discussed. Salary arrears. See, we're talking about $2 billion from the United States. We have doctors in Nigeria that have worked for 20 months without salary. In FMC, or 9 months, no salary. In UUTH Uyo, as far back as 2023, their salary arrears. UITH Ilorin, when the salary arrears was being paid, instead of paying all of it, it was cut by a particular factor. We don't know how that calculation arrived. We're still trying to sort that one out. Benue State University Hospital, 18 months arrears. And someone attempted to even do no work, no pay for them. Someone is even threatening that they will exit the residence if they don't come back from their strike. They are not even saying pay us the money. They are saying let us cite the approval by His Excellency that these monies will be paid. So if you talk about $2 billion, if you talk about even the $2.8 trillion that is to be budgeted for health, how can resident doctors know where that money will go to? You know, with respect to whether the minister is engaging resident doctors. I mean, it's one thing to engage. It's another thing to respect agreements. It's another thing for issues to be taken to a finality. You know, but when you sign an agreement and you come in to look for excuses not to implement, or you look for how to alter that agreement and do what ab initio you wanted to do. It doesn't speak well of the trust that should be built
Dr. Suleiman,
amongst us.
Dr. Suleiman, permit me to ask this question, because why I asked about the $2 billion? I mean, take for instance, if you go online, you also find that sometime last year in October, the minister had also budgeted over about 32.9 billion naira. I'm just going to read to you 3 headlines, which looks juicy and sweet, especially at the front. But you telling us this, that they're not maintaining status quo with the agreement, seems to be worrisome. Take, for instance, they say US-Nigeria signed $5.1 billion MOU to boost healthcare, support faith-based facilities. And of course, in that article, they did mention that doctors would not have any cause to worry. There's also a case of the minister also talking about prioritizing the healthcare sector, ensuring that doctors also get what they need to ensure that the health sector functions properly. So if all of this is being put out there in the media, the press, the news, and so on and so forth, internally you're going on strike again, do you think the health sector is being politicized, in one word?
Absolutely, absolutely. House officers, some have worked for 6 months without salary. They have not received their December salary. If you talk about all these monies, it further angers these house officers who are still in the hospital, working, carrying samples, clerking patients, reviewing patients, taking calls. You know, December salary has not landed for house officers. It usually takes 2 to 3 weeks of the next month before they get the salary of the previous month. And we just discovered about 60 of them have salaries way back 6 months. They are still doing their house job. They've not run away. They've not quit the job. They are still doing it. I mean, if that is not patriotism, what then is it? By the time you mention these amounts and you're talking about doctors' concerns and welfare will be considered, will be guaranteed, will be assured, I am showing you an agreement that they freely signed into and they are not living up to that. So absolutely, it is politicized. What else can you say about it? Nothing.
Okay, now, have you gotten also any support from maybe the labor unions regarding the planned protest that the doctors are, the National Association of Resident Doctors are about to embark on?
No. This is strictly going to be a residents' affair. Where doctors will be in ward coats, will carry placards. We will go from one point of the hospital to the other. We will invite the media and we will shout at the top of our lungs, return our colleagues back to Lokoja, put our arrears inside the 2026 budget, commence implementation, pay our house officers their arrears, commence back the collective bargaining agreement, ensure that the entry level is captured appropriately, right? The chief executive, right, the accountant general. We will do that. That is at the local chapter level. We will do regional ones that will be organized by the caucus leaders, and then the national officers have been directed by the NEC to also do a national one. And then when we begin to roll out how to do a national one, we'll invite everybody to come and hear us say what we want to say. If any other association out there wants to come and help doctors, I mean, we will always welcome it. After all, we are Nigerians. We are all inside the same storm, inside the same teacup.
Okay, I just to also mention, I mean, this protest that we're seeing is sort of similar to what we saw, maybe on a smaller level, with the doctors that were dismissed in Lokoja. I think about 5 doctors between 2024 and 2025. Do you have updates about the whereabouts of these doctors and how they've been faring?
Yeah. Yes, they are still scribbling, trying to get locum appointments in state hospitals, in private hospitals. Some of them run to Abuja to see where they can get 1 or 2 things. Run to neighboring states to do what they can to survive. They're just still scribbling. You know, it's interesting you mentioned that FTH Lokoja went to the protest. Do you know that the termination letters of some of those doctors there, especially those on locum, carried that they were terminated because they engaged in unauthorized protest? I don't know when protest in Nigeria became unauthorized, especially when you have informed the authority. I don't know when protest became so illegal in Nigeria that you can sack somebody from his work simply for protesting poor working conditions. In that hospital, there are over 80 consultants. There are less than 35 resident doctors. We are saying take back these 5 so that their number will approach 40. I mean, those consultants will not do the work of residents. It is still, imagine 30, 32, 33 doctors holding an entire teaching hospital in Nigeria. They protested. And then you said unauthorized protest. You are hereby dismissed. I mean, well, maybe perhaps when we do our local protest across the country, perhaps the rest of us will get unauthorized protest letters too dismissing us. Who knows? This is Nigeria. Anything can happen.
Now, Dr. Suleiman, we're in a new year, and I believe most offices have resumed from the holidays. When is your next scheduled meetings with the stakeholders, be it Ministry of Health? I believe you're the primary stakeholder in all of this.
To be honest, I can't. What I know is that from now till next week, when the strike will start, we will carry our bags and our papers and we'll visit every office we can visit, from the Ministry of Health to every National Assembly, everywhere our legs can carry us to. This has always been our modus operandi. And we are always in their faces asking, well, when is this going to be done? How is this going to be done? Nobody is packing his bags to leave. We don't want a situation where they will say, come, let's meet, and you are not telling them I'm not in town. No. In fact, from today till then, we've been doing that even before now, but then the Yuletide period came and then nobody was in the office. You go to offices, nobody is there, you know, in Abuja. So we're going back. We're going to continue to go and knock those doors. They listen to us and these letters come out and this implementation takes place. I mean, nothing will happen next week. Otherwise, we'll stay the course of the resolution of the National Executive Council.
All right, Dr. Suleiman, thank you for joining us. And I think my final question to you will be what message you have for your resident doctors who probably, I mean, a number of them have expressed frustration as well. And I mean, I don't know what the mood is like with the resident doctors. So what message you have to resident doctors, to the government, and then to Nigerians who are probably wondering, hey, I can't get access to a doctor again from the 12th of January.
Well, after our National Executive Council meeting and the resolution filtered that the strike is starting on the 12th, some resident doctors came to our national platform and described us national leaders as jokers, as people who don't hold the fort. What was the reason? Why are we waiting till 12 before we start any action? That is the level of frustration. Now, these are people who have lived through all of these things I'm telling you. On the 35%, for instance, over 40% of our members are yet to get the areas that government has been shouting we have released 50 billion. That has still not been 1% of our members. It is always a difficult thing when you decide to embark on an action like this. But look at the reasons why we are going for it. They are so germane to healthcare practice. They are so particular to resident doctors, but then they are inconsequential to government. Something has to give. The only thing I'll call on to my members is hold the fort, stay the line. We have resolved on what we are going to do, and this national executive is going to continue to stand by you, stand by your demands, stand by your aspirations until we get the desired result. For fellow Nigerians, the call is simple. Come in and support doctors. Come in and support doctors. Doctors are drowning. We're drowning in work. We're drowning in debts. We're drowning in professional problems. We're drowning in the Nigerian situation, just like every other Nigerian. Come to our aid, because by the time we're distracted with all of this, it impacts on patient care. Permit me to make this particular call to Mr. President of the country, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and I know he has a lot on his table. Even the headlines from today, from politics to insecurity to so many things, the tax law and all of that. But we all have to be healthy for all of this to happen. We all have to be healthy for all of this to happen. Mr. President, come in. I've been shouting at the top of my lungs at great personal risk, calling your attention to this. Come in and salvage, declare a state of emergency. If you can't declare it in the health sector, at least declare it on the welfare of the healthcare professionals, so that at least 4,000 doctors that left in 2014 will begin to plan to come back, so that this 2026 we will not have another 4,000 doctors and God knows how many other healthcare workers will be leaving the shores of Nigeria.
Very, very tough one right now. January 12th is just around the corner. Who would think that the new year would come bearing gifts like this? But then again, like you said, it's something that needs to be done. Thank you so much. We hope the federal government and the Ministry of Health will indeed have a turnaround and quickly quell this recent protest that's just approaching. Thanks for your time, and we do hope that we'll hear good news anytime soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at what's happening in River State. Well, there's a situation right there in River State. It's like it's part two, as it's a movie. We would like to call it that way. And now we have several parts, so we need to find out where we are. Stay with us. After the break, we'll bring to you the latest story concerning River State, Wike, the FCT minister, and the governor.
FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has visited Okrika local government area, Kijo stronghold in Rivers State, to rally his supporters. During the visit, Wike warned that politics would not be business as usual and threatened to retire his political opponents. News Central's Biola Festus reports.
Remain divided across Rivers State regarding Wike's influence on the Ijaw political agenda during his tenure. At his New Year visit to Okrika Local Government Council, Wike highlighted his administration's projects, including his earlier support for an Ijaw governor, which he described as a mistake and a tale of betrayal.
So many people say, oh, it's not good with Ijaw people. I am good with Ijaw people. I'm good with Okrika people. But if there's one person that does not want development, I will not be good with that person. Some people came to me, why will you do this? Are you not seeing what the Ijaw man is doing us? I said, that is not one. Everybody cannot be the same. One person cannot rob everybody this thing. It's not possible. We have made a mistake in this state. We will kill ourselves, but we'll correct the mistake this time around.
Thompson Sekibo, leader of the River State Ijaw People's Congress, said the Ijaw community has withdrawn support for Governor Fubara, alleging that the governor undermined the Ijaw people by contesting authority with the FCT minister.
The last time he said we should vote on Extortion, you brought somebody. We voted for him. Don't look at him and think that we are all ungrateful people. The Ijaw people are very grateful people. That is why we abandoned him and we said we must follow you. In this your short stay as a minister, Your Excellency, you don't know what you have done for us. We can count 15 great appointments, federal appointments you have given to Ijaw people. Whatever you say we should do, that's what we do.
Meanwhile, Tobin Akuro, chairman of Okrika LGA, praised Wike for his political benevolence, including attracting federal appointments to the area.
You so much empower them because of the love you have for them and for Okrika. Today, they've all run away from you. Not just run away from you, they came down, started telling us all sorts of lies about you, that they didn't do anything. We are so happy with Mr. President, whom you've been supporting, and whom you also ask us to support. Wherever you ask us to go, we will go. Who want us to support, we will support.
Wike also paid a courtesy visit to the king of Okochiri Kingdom, describing it as a friendly, non-political engagement.
Wike also addressed traditional rulers in the state, cautioned them to stay out of active politics, urging former Niger Delta militant leader and traditional ruler King Eteketom not to be directly involved in the game of politics.
Start politics. We'll soon start politics. I didn't say you should be involved. Don't be involved. Allow us to play our politics. Stay as a traditional ruler. I don't want anybody to say tomorrow, oh, you are putting your hand, don't put hand. But that does not mean that you don't have anybody to support your mind. But allow us to play our game. If there's any problem, you call us to settle. But I want to tell you that not be business as usual again. All of us have taken decision on what to do. So I believe those of them who are children will tell you the decision we have taken, just for your ears, not for you to participate. You're my friend. So I don't want us, in fact, why I'm not becoming sick because based on your stool, I don't want anybody to say, oh, Amarabo, you've cancelled the recognition. That's why I don't want to come since. But since I've come here, you will not be happy that I left without coming to greet you.
Meanwhile, top leaders of the All Progressives Congress have declared support for River State Governor Sheikh Ahmad Gumi amid renewed tensions with the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. APC National Secretary Ajibola Bashiru said the party backs Fubara's re-election, stating that nobody can frustrate any APC governor. Fubara, like other APC governors, is running the affairs of his state well, he said, end of quote. Well, joining us now is the former national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, of Nigeria. Mr. Peter Ahmed joins us this morning. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
Good morning.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here in 2026. Are we about to see another showdown? Because how does the APC's public backing of Governor Sheikh Ahmad Gumi change the political calculations in River State? I mean, you just saw a video and a package there where the FCT minister has been carrying out a visitation, or better still, a trip to sensitize members of each community about the forthcoming election. So where does the governor stand in this particular situation?
Recently, we've seen the renewed courage of the governor. You know, when he talked about backing dogs and all things, this is a governor who will not have the infantry or the courage to make such public statement before. So you will know that there's somebody beating drums for him while he's dancing in public. So some members of the APC national hierarchy, have decided to be playing the normal politics that was even played in the PDP, being that there's a large resources at the River State account that has been usable in the PDP for, to pacify political leaders and all sort of groups who come to undermine democratic governance in most of our state. So this honeypot is the reason why, in reference to Wike, who says they come to collect money, they come for their personal interest. This is the interest. The interest, is to go directly to where the pipe is plugged, and avoid Wike, who is also just a minister of the Federal Capital Territory, and go directly to the source. But in all of this, I asked the question, Wike is boasting they will, remove governor. Governor is saying he will remain. The PDP, the APC national chairman and the national secretary are saying that the governor will have his chance at the primaries. But in all of this, where is the interest of the people? Where's the KPI that he used, to judge the performance of the governor, to judge the performance of how this is done? Wike himself knows that he has made a very big mistake when he left the primary source of his power and decided to, go to the center, thinking that, as usual, what was happening in the PDP then, you have to put yourself with the federal might so that you can use that federal might to undermine the legitimacy of the conduct of elections in the state. That's what has always happened in Rivers State, including 2023 election. So that is the pursuit of power, to be able to have all the apparatus of state coming from the federal center so that you can use it, suppress people, pray whatever thing you do, and then install, put the people you want in at the aim of affairs where to the detriment of the electorate who troop out to vote on election day. And today, the man he has put there decided to also try to play the same game. So whatever happens, the person who is gaining more for this struggle is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which I've always said. Because today, Fubara is drumming support for Tinubu's re-election. Wike is drumming support for Tinubu's re-election. I don't think that Tinubu will want a situation where he will throw Sim away and then Sim will join forces with the opposition. And I don't think he will also want a situation where he will also throw Wike away. So he will continue to manage the two of them and be playing non-aligned politics in the sense that, let the best person win at primaries, and at the end of the day, one person will lose out. And I fear the person that will lose out will be Wike, the Minister of FCT. Because today, you might talk about a lot of things about structure control. You know how the power of incumbency in our electoral process have come to bear, very strong appearance on when it comes to conduct of elections. State resources and other things will be deployed massively on election during and post-election period. So the critical thing for now going to traditional rulers and, maybe the people say he doesn't know how to talk. That's the way they talk in their place. But the reverend traditional rulers like, the Seki board I is speaking to, it should be some kind of, some level of decorum, some level of respect, and plea, to be able to say, your children are having misunderstanding. We want you to always wage into it and look at the interest of the collective good of the people. They are not talking about the collective interest. It's about structure. It's about power. It's about personal interest above the interest of the River State. If you look at the revenue generated since 1999 for River State should have been a center of excellence and one of the high generating GDP ground for this country. But it has failed because of too much politics and too much power play.
Now, Mr. Peter, I mean, you've spoken quite well about the issues in River State. You've put it quite well, and you were forthright in your submission. You spoke about renewed hope and renewed courage that the governor seems to have. My question to you is this. The FCT minister is one of 36 ministers in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Minister of Works is also a former governor in the person of Mr. Dave Umahi. Why is the FCT minister so interested in the office he left behind and the politics in River State? Why is he not 100% focused on FCT affairs? You also mentioned KPIs. In these KPIs, does it not affect his work quality as federal minister? And I mean, is he so good in multitasking, and is it that dexterous that he can juggle both things at the same time? Because if the other ministers were doing this, then we wouldn't have any semblance of governance. Before now, the center was enjoying what he was doing, but today what they wanted and what they looked up to was to get the governor into the party, and they've gotten him into the party. So for now, you look at like a distraction to a lot of people. But for me, what the mistake people make, people think that infrastructure in the FCT is basically tied to just few roads and all this network. Today, you move around this FCT, it's an eyesore when you look at the level of tanks, overhead tanks that is spreading across the Federal Capital Territory, a center that should have been competing with cities like Johannesburg, who have no pipe-borne water scheme system, and there are no intention to work towards such infrastructure. So I think whatever he's doing and the divided attention that is putting into the administration of the Federal Capital Territory will definitely have a long-term effect on the governance system and structure of the FCT, because it's not just people governing and playing politics in River State, it's also playing politics in the FCT. So this combination of actions that is putting together is actually eroding the general services that are could have helped the FCT to compete with the capitals, cities like Rwanda and Kigali and all the rest of them. So we have a very dirty look. Go to Korekaru, go to other places, you find out the refuse and the dump there have not been cleared for a long time. It's an eyesore. So these are just the distraction and part of the outcome of his multiplicity of party politics. So, but generally, people don't learn from history. If you look at what has happened with those who have left their forcefully imposed governors on their state, it has not really ended well. Even for Tinubu during Fashola period, it almost crashed, except that the elders were able to intervene. If you look at the Rivers, Abia State between Oji Zokalo and Theodoji, and a lot of other examples, especially when the example like that of Wike, when the overbearing interference that it brings to the state becomes so unbearable that the governor will also want to assert his immunity and executive authority. If you have some level of less interference, less communication, and allow the governor to participate and do his work as a chief executive, it would have been fairer. Even look at River State, like Reverend Father Elia and the SGF. They have not been peace. It's no longer at ease. So the challenge is that they have failed to understand during their own time. They had all the necessary power, they had all the necessary freedom to administer the state with, and they actually resisted anybody from interfering in the affairs of the state while they were at the ends of affairs.
And today they want to reverse, and then what they could not take, what they could not accommodate, they want those who have been put in office to accommodate. None of them today, including Nyesom Wike, will say that people did not do whatever they had to do to put him in office as against the interest of Rotimi Amechi at that time, where President Jonathan and his husband, the former president, participated actively to make sure that he was elected the governor of Rivers State. So the challenge of our country is that there's too much politics. The people, and I think it's the only means of livelihood for many politicians, especially in states like Rivers State, states that have huge revenue capacity. People just come, everybody has their own supporters, put on their little tap, connect to it, and then get whatever they got, and they continue with spineless boot licking and praise singing choir arrangement. So, and this undermines the fabric of our democratic projection. It undermines the rights of the people to determine who will govern them. Because if we have transparent electoral processes, if we have elections where the true wishes of the people, govern the affairs of the elections on election day, where INEC will follow the rules and there will not be glitches, where Beavers and IREF will work along with the already regulated processes that have been established by the election management body, where these people will come into be one man, one vote, you will discover there will be less arrogance, there will be less flagrant display of unnecessary authority that does not, stand with the interest of the people. People should be able to come out and say, while I was governor, this I did, and I'm sponsoring this person, I'm supporting this person because he has the same philosophy, the same ideas, and the same understanding of governance like I have. Or the governor should be able to come to the people, not to say and use Wike's name to campaign and say Wike was that. No, he should be able to come that out of the billions of revenue that have been accrued to the federation, to the state account from federation account, these are the things I have done. Look, we should be able to have transparent management of public resources. Okay. Our problem is this.
I hear you when you say we should be able to have a transparency when it comes to the area of our public resources. You also spoke about the performance of Governor Wike and Fubara. You mentioned earlier that in this whole dynamic, if anybody will be losing out, if I heard you correctly, you mentioned that the person that will be losing out is Nyesom Wike. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's very correct.
All right. Probably. Now, the people seem to have, we've heard a number of people who have thrown their support to Governor Wike and Fubara, who has also thrown his support to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So everybody now seems to be politically playing in the same party. Nyesom Wike, on the other hand, has said, and I quote, that someone who cannot relate to the local government, chairmen, state assembly members, and national assembly members, what kind of leadership do you want to provide? And we're not unaware of some of the challenges that Governor Wike and Fubara has had within his government, especially with the members of his cabinet, the representatives rather. The representatives who left, came back, the State House of Assembly, who left, came back, left again. It seems like he's not been able to get along with that. How do you hope or perceive that he'll be able to navigate the difficulty in that area? Because, he's the governor of the people, but he doesn't work in isolation. He needs different organs of government to function.
Yes, you have the check and balance created by our democratic structure, where the State House of Assembly are supposed to be responsible for making laws and oversight function for the good governance and approval of the executive. But the executive is the one that executes some of this authority. The reason why they have this current crisis is because they say they wanted to bring supplementary budget. That's what I've read. And Fubara is saying that the budget approved by the National Assembly is still in force and could still cover the budget year. And they are saying, no, they want supplementary budget. And he said, no. And imagine that they were also angry that what is sent to them was just 100,000 naira, as usually, just like Akpabio said, for prayers. So these are all part of the combination of the crisis that we were having. It's all about the money of the people of Rivers State. There's nobody that is driving any interest there that is, I can say that the interest is for the collective good of our people that reside in Rivers State. What we are saying is that Nyesom Wike should know that even if not for the suspension of the governor and the State House of Assembly by President Buhari, President Tinubu, sorry to say, there's no way the governor would have been impeached because you still need the state judge to be able to set up committee to review the process and then give recommendation whether what has been brought before him was an impeachable offense. So he had a problem to cross there, an order to cross. So they went for a shorter route, which they used the president to achieve, and he was able to get more power during that period. And also the court nullified the local government election conducted by Fubara, and he was also able to get all his local government people to get in power. But local government chairmen and secretaries and their deputies are not the structures of political parties anymore. I can tell you this from experience about, when we started party management about 20 years ago, we used to say, oh, you can't win, you are a small party. But now it's about how the people feel and where they want to put their vote. The only problem we had, before the introduction of technology was the fact that our vote never counts. Today, there's some level of acceptance that there's vote count, and that's why you discover that the politicians are building war chests to be able to, in process of governance, impoverish the people. Then in the day of election, they use that money that was meant for the development of the people to buy votes, and the people who sell their vote are the reason why we are still in this level of barbaric democracy, because people can't just come and then decide to not to perform. But as it is, why I say that Nelson Wike will lose is because, for me, I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has already settled him. He's the Minister of FCT, one of the very lucrative ministry. He's also he has gotten his local government people in place. So I don't think what they should do now is for the APC to want to rock the boat, because having Rivers State, two groups campaigning at the same time for his own benefit. So the people who are losing, at the end of the day, if care is not good taken, you'll find that both of them might be on the losing end, because the party can give the candidate to anybody they want.
Thank you very much for mentioning this possibility of both of them being on the losing end, because it just feels like you said, politics is the order of the day. Where are the people in this whole matrix? Now, would you say that the party support for Fubara is based on his performance in office, or is this barely a strategic move to weaken Wike's influence in Rivers politics? What if somebody fresh that is not Wike, a third force like Tony Cole comes on? Do you think that Rivers people would lean their support more in that direction?
History does not support your opinion, because what people want, we've seen in PDP when Rivers State was the center, is the only port. There's resources there, governors can spend as their security vote for politics without any problem. So, but today you can see how fast they were able to turn their back and declare Fubara the leader of the party. And that is to show I have not seen any standard or anything that they use or metrics that have been used to calculate the actions of Fubara and what he has done to be able to, for them to come that Fubara is working. Just within 1 month, they have come to a very conclusion that is not logical to me that Fubara is working. I think it's more political.
The work he did before he was suspended, I guess.
You said?
The work he did before he was suspended as governor, I believe.
I think for APC, the man is new in APC. Okay. So what APC should have done was to even look at what he has done before. I think if we need to look at how governance function in every other place, there should be this public publication and data presented to the people and say, judging as party leaders, judging from what we have gathered, looking at the roads that have been tarred, looking at the resources generated, social amount of money have been generated. If you put it together, the resources have been judiciously used for the development and the welfare of the people. That's where people can believe you that you are not political and that your interest is not to, participate in the sharing of public fund in Rivers State. So this is just my own opinion, and I think that I'm basing this opinion based on what I've seen over the past years, why Rivers State was under the control of the PDP. But if they want to show that they have interest of the people, they should have been able to call the minister who is serving in their government, who is not a member of their party, neither a member of a PDP, I don't know which one it belongs. They should have been able to call both parties for a reasonable political party that wants progress of its people, that wants progress of our country, that wants the progress of his party, they should be able to call these two groups and sit them down and read the riot act, because political parties are institution and body corporate. They have, with self-succession, they should be able to have that authority and that organization to put their structure in place and call, and the National Working Committee can call this group and say, look, you can't continue with this, public embarrassment and shouting and insult. You can't continue with this fight on our party. Our party will not look like the PDP we are condemning, and then decide to discuss with them and then put this result. But they are taking side in order to get advantage. I don't see them really doing it for the benefit of the people. Rather, they are doing it for the benefit of whatever River State account has to offer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Mayor, for sharing your thoughts with us here this morning. I would also like to say that News Central has a program that examines the performance of 774 local governments. It's called Scorecards. Maybe we would also take it a notch higher and x-ray the performance of governors. Who knows? It's something that we could put in the works. But thank you so much for your insights, and we'll stay close to you as we continue to monitor events in River State. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you.
You're watching Breakfast Central. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, Olive Emodi will be bringing us breakfast headlines.
Very excited about that.
Yeah.
You're welcome to Breakfast Headlines. We begin this morning with a major international development. U.S. President Donald Trump has issued a sharp warning to Venezuela's incoming leader, Delcy Rodriguez, saying she could face severe consequences if she fails to act appropriately. Speaking to The Atlantic, Trump said any form of regime change would be preferable to Venezuela's current situation. At her first cabinet meeting, Rodriguez, who is due to be sworn in today, Monday, appealed directly to Trump, calling for peace and dialogue rather than conflict. Meanwhile, Nicolás Maduro is expected to appear in a New York court after being captured during U.S. airstrikes on Saturday. He faces drug trafficking charges, which he denies. U.S. officials insist the conflict is aimed at drug trafficking organizations, not the Venezuelan state. President Donald Trump has issued a stark warning to Venezuela's newly confirmed interim leader, Delcy Rodriguez, saying she will pay a very big price if she does not cooperate with the United States following the capture of her predecessor, Nicolás Maduro. And now we're moving to security matters. Tragedy has struck in Niger State as no fewer than 30 persons have been confirmed killed in a fresh attack by bandits in Borgu local government area. The attackers stormed the Kasuwan Daji market in Dimo community on Saturday, looting foodstuffs and valuables worth millions of naira before setting the facility ablaze. According to local sources, the terrorists emerged from the National Park forest around 4 p.m. on Saturday, operating well into the early hours of Sunday without resistance. While residents claim the death toll could be as high as 50, with victims reportedly tied up and executed, the police have officially confirmed 30 fatalities. The spokesperson of the Niger State Police Command, Superintendent of Police Wasiu Abiodun, disclosed that a joint security team has been deployed to the area, noting that several persons were also abducted during the siege. In a swift reaction, President Bola Tinubu has directed the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Defense Staff, the service chiefs, the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of the Department of State Services to track down and apprehend the perpetrators of the Kasuwan Daji attack in Niger State. President Tinubu ordered the security agencies to ensure that the terrorists were swiftly brought to justice. He also directed security agencies to rescue all the abducted victims urgently. President Tinubu issued the directives in response to the recent killings of villagers in Niger State by terrorists suspected to be fleeing from Sokoto and Zamfara states following the United States airstrike on Christmas Eve. The president strongly condemned the attack on the Kasuwan Daji community and the abduction of women and children. Away from insecurity issues, let's talk tax. The chairman of the Nigeria Revenue Service has asked security agencies to be at alert over rumors of protests against tax laws. Zach Adedeji spoke on Sunday and warned Nigerians against being misled by misinformation surrounding the reforms. He said citizens should study the tax laws carefully and understand how the provisions affect them. rather than relying on rumors or calls for mass action. He noted that calls to suspend the implementation of the tax laws are unconstitutional, noting that laws passed by the National Assembly cannot be suspended by individuals or pressure groups. Adedeji insisted that the tax reform bills went through extensive consultations, including the public hearings at the National Assembly for over 6 months before their passage. Earlier, lawyer and policy analyst Eze Onyekpere joined us on the news to discuss this.
Yeah, is the arrogance of impunity of the man who is supposed to implement the laws. We had a presidential committee chairman who was dutifully trying to explain issues to all Nigerians as somebody who was committed and serious about the reforms. Now his tenure has elapsed and he is not reappointed, and there's an implementation committee headed by somebody Nigerians do not know and who is not even talking to anybody. And then comes this issue of a threat. The right to protest is a fundamental right, not just under the Nigerian constitution, because it's about freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of speech. It is a right enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948, which is even beyond the Nigerian constitution as a peremptory norm of human rights and customary international law, where in preambular paragraph 4 it is stated that whereas if man, well, the language then was man, if human beings are not to resort to tyranny as a last resort against oppression and suppression, that human rights and fundamental freedom should be protected by law.
At least 25 people have been confirmed dead, while 13 others were rescued alive following a tragic canoe accident in Nguru local government area of Yobe State in Nigeria's northeast. According to the Executive Secretary of the Yobe State Emergency Management Agency, Dr. Mohammed Goje, the incident occurred at about 7:48 p.m. on Saturday, the 3rd of January 2026, when a canoe conveying 52 passengers capsized while traveling from Adiyani town in Nguru local government area of Jigawa State to Garbi town in Nguru local government area, Yobe State. 13 passengers have been successfully rescued, while 14 others remain missing. Search and rescue operations are ongoing, with the State Emergency Management Agency, security agencies, emergency responders, and local community volunteers working to locate the missing passengers and recover the bodies. While commiserating with the bereaved families and the people of Nguru and Guri local government areas, the governor of Yobe State, Maimala Buni, has directed that all necessary medical and logistical support be provided immediately to victims receiving treatment. Equatorial Guinea has officially changed its capital from Malabo to Ciudad de la Paz following a presidential decree issued on Saturday. The new capital, located at Jibolo province on the mainland, has been under development since 2008, since Tedoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo said the move from Malabo, which sits on Bioko Island, is for strategic and geographic reasons. Also known as Jibolo or Oyala, Ciudad de la Paz is intended to ease pressure from rapid urban growth in Malabo and Bata. Government institutions are expected to relocate within a year, though the decree does not clarify whether foreign embassies will move. And now we move away from breakfast headlines and continue with Breakfast Central. I am Olive Emodi. Thank you for joining us. We'll continue the show now.
$15.52 trillion naira, that's the amount. 15.52 trillion naira. That is not for schools, not for hospitals, not for roads, power, or security. That's the cost of our debts in 2026 in President Tinubu's 2026 budget. About 27% of the total expenditure, by some estimates, close to 30%, will go into debt servicing alone before the Nigerian people are considered, before development is discussed. Creditors come first. more than a quarter of government spending goes to servicing old loans, the country is not planning for growth with its managing decline. Growth, which is in decline. Nigeria is no longer borrowing to build. Nigeria is borrowing just to stay afloat. And even that survival is borrowed. Now, debt itself is not the enemy. Serious countries borrow, but they borrow to create value, to build power plants, rail lines, industries, export capacity. Nigeria, however, has mastered something else: borrowing to fund waste, sustain an oversized political class, and postpone difficult reforms. And so, the bill arrives every year, bigger than the last. Classrooms remain broken, hospitals remain underfunded, insecurity persists, hunger spreads. Yes, the cost of governance remains untouchable. Convoys are long, privileges are intact. Sacrifice, it seems, is strictly for the poor. So the questions Nigeria must ask is simple. Who incurred all these debts and who is paying for them? Because it's not the political elite. It is the worker whose salary shrinks monthly. It is the trader crushed by inflation. It is the graduate trapped between joblessness and despair. This is the quiet violence of bad economic mortgaging of the future to survive the present. Then they brand it as reform. No country can debt service its way into prosperity. No economy grows when tomorrow's earnings are already spent today. A nation survives when its people are treated as collateral. No nation, I beg your pardon, survives when its people are treated as collateral. So which way Nigeria, when the budget sounds less like a development plan and more like a bank alert? Until waste is confronted, governance is cut to size, and borrowing is tied to real productivity, this cycle, unfortunately, will continue, and Nigerians will keep paying for decisions they never made. Good morning, Nigerians. Welcome. Thanks for staying with us. Away from which way, Nigeria, where do we go to? Let's come back to the front pages of the newspapers. We do have international journalists of repute, the man who is here and always talks tough. We have Mr. Abibaruna in the house. Bonjour, welcome, bienvenue.
Wow.
Good morning.
A man who's not afraid to
Happy New
speak
Year
the
to
truth.
us.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Surprisingly, Mr. Abibaruna is not with his cap today. You know, usually we have his cap.
New
his
Year,
hat,
new me.
you know, so it's a new
He
year,
wants the New Year
it's
breeze.
a vibe. It's giving.
He wants to
All right.
appreciate it.
Today's paper will definitely shock you. Let's start off with one. This Nigeria is where we're starting off from. As we progress, let's also highlight that you can call in and react to the stories. I'm going to go straight to the picture at the front page there. And then this Nigeria possibly didn't catch the bug on social media very early. But terrorists strike Niger community market, kill dozens, abduct many. This is a big story in Nigeria. We did talk about it at the start of the show. Attackers struck from forest residents. Tinubu orders manhunt, rescue of victims. The president did put out a statement, said they must ensure they rescue the victims and bring the perpetrators to book. But the big one there's a picture of the president sitting with the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, there. If you go on social media, that picture has been highlighted to be doctored, to be
AI generated.
AI generated, as it were. But then again, we wonder what the president is trying to prove.
Let's explain why they said it's AI generated. Because of the watermark of Grok. And that was a particular photo posted. I still maintain that there might be a mix-up somewhere.
Maybe they use Grok to clean it up.
Exactly. Maybe they use Grok to clean up the original version.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, we don't know, but the big story right now is terrorists have struck Niger State community market, and then the Venezuela story, Donald Trump's action sends panic across globe. You can take either one and let's go.
If you just oppose the picture on the front page of this newspaper with the story, the lead story.
Yes.
You'll be wondering and asking yourself questions. The commander-in-chief is in Paris.
Right.
Having a lunch with his Rwandese counterparts. And people have been killed in broad daylight in Niger State. The same Niger State that school children were kidnapped and later released without anybody telling us how they were released and whether ransom was paid or not. You know,
And his Rwandese counterparts is not going through the same thing.
I was telling
Ben
before the program that I'm tired of coming here and looking at this kind of stories. You know, this despondency is affecting me emotionally. Because who feels it knows it. You know, put yourself in the position of people in that area. What will the governor do? What can he do? As security agencies are supposed to protect Nigerians. The primary responsibility of any government is to protect and take care of the welfare of the citizens. I don't think this is being done.
But they know it. You know, I mean, that's why security has taken a big chunk of the budget.
Government should be pro-reacting. The other was proactive.
Yeah.
What we have seen is government reacting after this thing has been done. Now telling the security men to go and to pursue them. How? And unfortunately, the National Assembly is sleeping. It's a matter of...
Are they not on recess?
Pardon?
Are they not on break?
If they are on break, they should issue a statement. No matter where they are,
but don't you think? I mean, these statements, we've been issuing statements for years.
And even come back immediately to tackle these things because it's a matter of public importance. You know.
So talking about issuing statements, Mr. Fubara, I mean, we've been issuing statements for years, and the governor, you know, the president is giving the marching order. Is it that the security agencies and their heads that have been delegated to take care of this, that have been given these responsibilities, don't know what to do? That Mr. President from Paris has to give a marching order. But we'll come back to you. Let's take this call from Matthew from Abuja, and then we'll come
Bonjour,
back to
Matthew.
Hello, Matthew. Good morning.
It's a pleasure thank you on the program this morning. Yes, I want to say something about the issue of Niger State. Like the presenter, the man you invited is saying, it is quite unfortunate that we have a sleeping president on duty. His house is on fire, and unfortunately, the man is somewhere eating breakfast or lunch with somebody else. The only language you can speak to this man's hearing is talking about second time. And why that second time when the whole house is on fire? I think it is high time we choose those who care. Or it is high time we allow those who care to rule this nation. There are all these gullible people to be ruling us into jeopardy. Thank you very much.
Matthew is not happy.
No,
the optics you mentioned and the juxtaposition of the picture and the headline.
Story. They do not correlate at all. There is no any syllogism between that picture and the story. In fact, it makes you to be annoyed. That this man is sitting down like a grandfather, taking lunch with Paul Kagame. I don't think Rwanda will be in a mess and Paul Kagame will be sitting down there taking lunch with anybody. Kagame will lead it. Look at the history of Kagame. Kagame is...
Former soldier.
He will lead his troops and crush those bastards. You know, but we are becoming increasingly helpless. That is my worry. This kind of story is becoming a normal thing, a normal daily routine, and it's dangerous.
I mean,
so
even with the U.S. involvement,
all of us should wake up.
Even with the U.S.
and tell our government to please act.
But one would think that...
Why should we wake up in the morning and hearing the news that...
But one would think that...
Markets, attack schools, attack neighborhoods, killing people, adopting people.
One would think that now that our sovereignty has been tested. But let's take this call from Uche in Abia.
Good morning, Uche. Please go ahead with your comment.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
This my call this morning should be a wake-up call for journalists in Nigeria. Nigerian journalists are not doing enough regards to upcoming election. Because politicians are depending on Togre. Politicians are depending on Togre. I don't even call any political party. Many of them are depending on Togre. Nigerian journalists should, start doing something in regards to Togre. Because most of the journalists are going to areas that are not their, locality. Which means they are prone to danger. You people should wake up. Otherwise, I don't want to miss any journalist. You people should start doing something. Apart from today, National Orientation Agency are not doing anything in regards to Togre. Police are not doing anything in regards to Togre. The military are not doing anything in regards to Togre. Upon all, presidency is not doing anything in regards to Togre. Please, I'm begging. You people should wake up. It is still day. God bless you people.
We'll take that statement.
Mr. Adibas, as the senior journalist on this panel, that question is directed at you.
Journalists have been doing their job. The job of a journalist or journalists is to report what is going on. Journalists are patriotic citizens, and they report what is going on. Even for our reports, Uche will not react this way.
Absolutely.
I was thinking that Uche would have directed his alliance, his intervention, on the doorstep of security agencies, on the defense minister, who should wake up. If in a normal clime, the defense minister should address Nigeria this morning. That is their job.
Maybe Uche feels. We are
not used to that kind of.
I don't know. We are not law enforcement.
We saw after the Trump, when U.S. forces captured
Venezuela's president,
Venezuela President Maduro. We saw the most powerful man on earth, Donald Trump, the Prime Minister, the head of state, all of them, the Chairman Joseph of Staff. They were all there, addressing the people. Because that shows that by saying that they are accountable. You may disagree with what they did and how it turns out. But the fact remains that they came out a few hours after to tell the American people and the world what happened and where the guy was removed. But now I'm sure the Prime Minister is somewhere taking breakfast.
I guess Uche's point is
they should be on the hot seat.
Uche also mentioned National Orientation Agency, that we should be saying and preaching to people that, political violence is not the way to go. Do not snatch ballot boxes. Don't be used as an agent of thuggery by politicians. That's what it means by the media's role in it.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's law enforcement that should clamp down on this and deal with it.
Absolutely. Now that you mentioned Venezuela, let's move to Venezuela because that's the story at the bottom of the paper on the front page. Social media, Nigerians, people around the world, the reactions. Exactly, there have been reactions. So first of all, let's get your thoughts about the capture of the president and the first lady of Venezuela and how you think this concerns us in Nigeria.
Well, first of all, I'm a student of American history. I taught American history, and there's my knowledge of their history that they had to take me to go and fellowship in their country. You see, America is a new Rome. America has the rich, militarily, diplomatically, politically,
financially,
economically, to do anything that will affect the dynamics of anywhere in the world. If America said they want to take a stand on an issue, that should be resolved. Look at what's happening in Gaza. Look at what is happening now in Ukraine. But America has been able to balance that power, right, with some maturity. They were leading, not ruling the world. They were leading the world. So this is the American government. And the first place president, George Washington, advised them, warned them that they should not dabble in other people's internal affairs. That was the last address he gave. That was the address. The America should be careful of dabbling in other people's affairs. But Donald Trump is a different president entirely. With Biden will not invade and remove Maduro. Best known to Trump, the American president, in line with the Constitution, does not have the right to invade another country without consulting the Congress. You can't just declare power in another country without
unilaterally
Congress approval. But this man, Congress, his party controls the Congress. So you've been doing things as if he's a king. And that's why there have been uproar since yesterday, the last 48 hours, that what he did was wrong. That should have consulted them for going ahead with Maduro. But he has done it And he was even saying that now they were in charge. We control the oil. Venezuela. And he said, U.S. oil companies will go in there and stabilize the country. And they will spend a dime because the money they will use is from the oil.
But Mr.
Derived from Venezuela.
Is that not kidnapping, piracy, and theft?
Well,
to put it like
let's take Emmanuel. Emmanuel has been on the call for a long time.
Let's hear from Emmanuel has been on.
Go ahead, please.
Sorry, Emmanuel, please call back.
Waiting.
So, removing all the diplomatic niceties.
The funny thing is that in international politics, might is always right. 90%. When it concerns America, America determines what happens in the world.
So international law doesn't matter.
Before it was bipolar, now it's unipolar. America is, as I said, economically, militarily. American military is so strong that no any second country, no China, no Russia, and they now have economic power to go with it. They now have their brand to go with it. I have a man in the White House who believe that those things are.
Who understands that these things are necessary.
And to massage his ego, you go ahead, let's bump the bastard. So the question you ask on Nigeria should wake up. This man went to Sokoto in partnership.
Let's see if we can take this call.
He should wake up. This man can wake up one day and say.
We have a responder.
And said there should be a regime change in Nigeria.
We have a responder.
But before that, let's also mention that we're going to take comments from YouTube. So please feel free to drop your comments. But
Mr. Uche, you're calling us back. Go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Uche, please go ahead. I'm sure you're calling to clarify the role of journalists.
Mr. Me, Uche is back. I'm concerned about journalism and journalists in the country. I don't want any of them to perish unnecessarily. That is why I'm now calling you people to, do what? Call the National Investigation Agency on time and police, PRO on time, because journalists are going to be in danger species. Some of you people, they have marked you people. I'm not a politician. I don't belong to any policies or any political party. But the way you people are analyzing things, many of their talks are against you people, which means you can go to an area where you don't even know that you have an enemy. You are doing your job without you people. I can't be sitting on my chair watching television. I have love for you people. But you people should do a lot to remind them, regards to Togri. Have you heard anything from the presidency regards to Togri about the election? No. Have you heard anything from National Investigation Agency? No. Have you heard anything from police? Even when they send the police, they will do nothing. They will, do eye fighting. That's why I'm calling on you people to organize a seminar. You people can be talking to Nigerians, talking to those talks, because anybody that, died will not come back again. God bless you people.
I think we get his point. He's concerned about us doing our job. Just to highlight here, before we go back into the conversation on Venezuela, we do have our reporters who have been abused, who have been attacked by these so-called dogs. So, Mr. Uche, you can have it on good authority that here on Breakfast Central, we're going to have a special on that to look into it, and possibly we'll also try to reach out to those in charge of ensuring that they provide security.
And to add to what you've said, Joe, we have our journalists who have been attacked by thugs. Correct. Right here on the show, we've had the police who have made promises to do something about it. Until date, there's nothing that has been done about it.
That's what he's concerned.
But we, at the fourth estate of the realm, our responsibility would always be to serve as checks, which is what we do when we show up every morning to do our jobs. Correct. And we can only hope that the people understand that the office of the citizen is the highest office of the land, and will continue to demand for better governance from your lawmakers. Better governance. It would be a joy for us to get to the point where people can actually recall the people that they voted in to represent them. We're not there yet. We haven't successfully done a recall of a lawmaker. But when lawmakers know that if you go there and you do not do what you were put there to do, that the citizens can recall you, and that we're not seeing politically manipulative recalls or attempted recalls like we did see with Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan.
To add what you said, this kind of program is what journalists are doing to inform, educate Nigerians on what is happening. For this program, there's a remark, a message, a monologue by Benga, which were Nigeria, which brings out issues in the news and what is going on in Nigeria. So, Uche, please keep watching. We are doing our best. Journalists are doing our best, particularly this TV station.
All right.
Now,
Back to you, Mr. Habib and Venezuela. From your statement, I mean,
He was explaining how it affected Nigeria before we interrupted him to take the call. And, you know...
if you look at the context of the Sokoto attack, which they describe as a cooperation between Nigeria and US. And just yesterday or 2 days ago, Gumi, the Sheikh in Kaduna, said his name is on the list of people to be attacked by America.
We have that video. We're just going to get it queued up, but go on.
So it should be a signal to Nigerian leaders that they are vulnerable. That when this man says something, he will do it. You know, he doesn't give it down. You know, when he says something, do it. So it's our time they put their house in order. Make sure that, because I insist that some of these attacks, these terrorists and bandits, they have informants in those communities. They have informants in those communities. And when you see it, say it, does not work, those communities. And before you know it, 2 minutes after, they blow up the story that people have been killed, people have been adopted. So government should do more. That was intelligence gathering, you know, and proactive attacks to prevent all these things from happening.
Concerning the Venezuelan kidnapping of the president and his wife, the African Union, Ghana, South Africa released statements condemning this and saying, you know, it violates international...
Even the UN.
From your perspective, I mean, without looking at the rightness or wrongness of it, you seem to be at awe of America's superpowers, its long arm that can go anywhere, do and undo. But it does have implications because the United States, a senior official of the United States put up the flag of Greenland that was painted with the Star-Spangled Banner. That's the American
by
flag.
outlining U.S. power and importance, that does not translate that I'm supporting them.
No, I know. That's I'm getting somewhere. Does it mean that?
I don't.
I mean, if the might is right, does it mean that China can wake up tomorrow and move into mainland Taiwan? Yes, or Russia.
That's the green light that we're seeing. But at the same time, I think Nigeria should have, for the record, come out, just like ECOWAS did, to condemn the attack.
Nigeria.
For goodness sake, Nigeria is the most powerful black nation on earth.
Nigeria is still trying to figure out.
But we're not leading.
But some Nigerians have come out.
We're not leading. I don't know why we did not come out with a statement.
From a government perspective,
I don't know why we are afraid to come out with the
private
statement.
individuals. Yes.
Ghana did. South Africa did.
Because Nigeria is still trying to figure out. Exactly. We're still trying to figure out how to get out of getting into the boots on the ground, guns are blazing situation with the President of the United States. But we have, anyway, I just want to take a few comments on, all right, a lot of the comments we're seeing on YouTube are regarding Nyesom Wike, which should be the next story we should go to. Then I will take the comments.
But before we do that, still staying on security, Sheikh Gumi has come out to speak.
Yeah.
He said he's been told from grapevine that the US is targeting him to unalive him and so on. Let's see if we have that video and let's bring it up quickly.
Kuma kun san dukan ku ƙarya ne da ƙarya ka kawo hari amma ina shugabannin me suka yi sun set ina malamai kawo muna hari kan ƙarya tsoratar da mu a ba mu sharuɗai sannan kuma a shigo da kuɗi ƙasar na a ce a wannan kashi na kirista ne wani ƙasa ne ma za ta yadda a shigo da abu don a raba al'umma ba wata ƙasar da za ta yadda sai ce a ko dai ka kawo dukan mu ko ka riƙe abun ka ba masu koko amma duka an yi haka ba mai ma magana ba mai surutu kowa ya can yana tsoro irin halin da muke ciki kenan a wannan ƙasa suna lagos sun zo yakin 'yan ta'adda to suwa suka yi 'yan ta'addan ai su ne suke yi boko haram a ku ji wani abu nan ba sabon ba safiyar da za a sa bom din nan karfe 8 na dan kwanta sai aka bugo mu waya
ba zan gaya muku wanda ya bugu mu waya ba sai ya ce mu gashi ana security briefings wai an ce ina cikin list na Boko Haram wanda suka yi makin za su yi eliminating. Daga Abuja ka bugo mu ana security meeting cewa an yi makin ina za a eliminating ina kuma su waye Boko Haram. Sai kusan la'asar za mu je tafsiri cikin azumi zan yi projection.
There you have it. Sheikh Gumi.
You recall that this man was prevented from entering Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Saudi Arabia is a bastion of Islam. I was there in 2008.
Okay.
The federal government, the journalist. So if this man is representing Islam and Muslims, they won't prevent him from
entering. So
it's a danger to both Islam and the country. I know any government that is responsible and responsive will allow him to be with these vituperations. It's hard time they call this man to order. It should not be untouchable.
Why is the government
Gumi
silent?
is a citizen that if anything you say that inflames the system, it should be invited and questions. No question means that it's above the law. It should not be accepted.
Just to track back before you head to the Wike story. Last week, our reporter had to join us on speed, Emmanuel Bagudu. He had to visit his home because there were rumors then that his home had been bombed. And like they say, there's no smoke without fire. But our reporter, having rushed there to do that very quickly, clearly showed that there must have been a story from behind a grapevine or a source. But here he's coming out just after that story last week. Over the weekend, he makes this video and makes that claim. But then again,
to confirm, it was 2025 media.
2027,
he wasn't allowed to go into Saudi Arabia for Hajj. But let's very quickly head to the final story. Wike is on the front page of the newspaper. You can see at the bottom, to the right corner of this Nigeria, 2027 Rivers gubernatorial elections. While we stand with FCT Minister Wike, State APC, Rivers Just People's Congress, others speak in thank you local government's tour. Yes, Wike is a big part of the conversation on the front page of that paper. Now, if you go to the comment section on YouTube, I'll take a few comments. All right, let's start with Mokuye Chukwuemeka. It says, Wike, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Pride goes before a fall. Wike is just a noisemaker. Olumide Alade says, Wike has been moving from one local government to another, organizing rallies and attacking the governor. What real impact does this have on the development of the people? Imagine if Wike is putting same energy used to organize youth empowerment and development programs across these local governments. The benefits would be far greater. Lenny Nekwere says, please reach out to Minister of FCT to focus on his job. This town is so dirty. I remember driving at night. It used to be therapeutic. ABJ roads are in darkness from Lenin, Abuja. Thank you very much, Lenin.
Yeah, it's very right. And right in front of Transcorp, just outside Transcorp, there are no street lights there. There are heaps of refuse in the FCT.
Meanwhile,
our guest spoke about overhead tanks that are an eyesore to the aesthetics. That
meanwhile,
we don't even have.
You said it, yes.
When you just came
meanwhile, Wike is speaking about...
Man is moving from one government to the other in Rivers State.
And talking about how Fubara doesn't have a chance as a second entry.
One of the tragedies of this dispensation is a man called Son Wike, who is becoming increasingly irascible and erratic. For goodness sake, ask me, what's he doing going from one local government to the other?
It's a thank you to
campaign has started.
Would Wike have allowed that if he was the governor of that state? For goodness sake. Because you have a president that indulged him to be doing all these things because of the next election. And he was even telling the whole world that they decided, they made a decision that the government will not go back. For goodness sake,
he also said no amount of shouting on your mandate from morning to night will guarantee you a return.
And you see, interestingly, and to me, a good thing for that matter, the chairman of APC and the secretary came out during the weekend that the leader of the party in that state is the governor of the state, Fubara. And they said Wike is touching their party. Well, I've not seen this before. I've been reporting politics for more than 27 years. I've not seen this before.
Isn't this funny? You want to influence what's going on in another party.
He's sick. But something is wrong with him. Or you not have enough money to spend. And all this money he's spending is government money, not his personal money. And what is going, go up and down with the government, meet the leaders of the political leaders and the king. What is he looking for? The man is becoming a nuisance.
He said should Fubara win the second term, he will
And the more he speaks, the more he gather more enemies for the president.
But it doesn't look like that, because I mean, the front pages are saying that they stand with
this
the
Nigeria,
minister.
we has a stake in this Nigeria.
Are you sure about that?
Excuse me, I'm a journalist.
I'm just asking for
I'm telling you what you don't know. Okay. I have many sources. And this newspaper, you can't see this kind of headline in other papers. Other papers' angle was the fact that his future, his political fortune, political future.
Yes.
He'll be dead politically. If they allow this man to go contract. But this man is taking it in another angle. This Nigeria. Don't be surprised. There's a connection between this Nigeria and Wike.
Okay.
You can't see this kind of story in Punch.
Daily Independence, let me see.
The Daily Independence.
If you have Daily Independence, please put that up.
Yeah, Daily Independence.
Well, we don't have it there. We don't have it there on Daily Independence. It's not there.
So that's what I'm saying.
Because there are more important issues in the country.
That's what will happen. But if time is not taken, the fragility of our democracy will be grossly affected if the kind of Wike is allowed to be trolling over the place and talking nonsense. It should be called to order by President Nicolás.
Well, we talked about Daily Independence. We have just 4 minutes to go. Let's see if we can take one story there. Operators warn new tax laws may hike fares on the mine safety from aviation. We did have an aviation expert who joined us during the course of the weekend during our programming, and he mentioned that there could be a serious hike.
Safety.
You people see this last one, though. NDLEA intercepts illicit drugs in coffee sachets. Detains 22 Indians over cocaine shipment. Benny, please be careful. The coffee that you give us every morning.
Yes, make sure that
before all
it's
the
coffee.
This has law.
Yeah, but this.
I don't know why they're not already implement it.
Have you also
talk is about public trust? Because even in advanced countries where they have everything,
they
have
tell
good
you
roads, fantastic infrastructure, solid social
amenities.
Schemes.
Everything available. Those citizens in those countries are still afraid of taxman. Nobody is comfortable with accepting invitation from people in taxes. So, in Nigeria, that we don't have these things, don't have good rules, don't have the economy is not good enough. There is massive unemployment, and there's lack of public trust. And we're not trying to make people to. If you remember this, in this state, Lagos, when Fashola was the governor of this state, people were rushing to go and pay their taxes. If you remember, in this kind of state. So the government should try as much as possible to make sure there is enough education. They should be aggressive in marketing this thing to Nigerians, not putting front page advert in the papers. That is not enough. They should be able to let people know why they must pay this thing. Where there's new things. I'm not convinced yet. Even though the structure itself should change. But Nigerians need to be well educated.
The optics too. And reporters saying that the head of the Nigerian Revenue Service is planning a lavish birthday party in Dubai. Let's hope, because this is now in the public. But now that it's in public knowledge, allegedly, he will cancel it and go to Yankari Games Reserve instead.
Let's wrap up the show. Thank you, Mr. Bibarino, for joining us. To all our guests who've joined us physically and virtually, thank you. We want to wrap up the show by giving a special shout out to one of our, I think we were to be doing our top, and we should start that soon, one of our top viewers, Mokunye Chukwuemeka, will definitely top the list. Thank you so much, Mokunye Chukwuemeka. It was your birthday yesterday, and from all of us here at Breakfast Central and News Central, we celebrate and appreciate you. And I also want to give a special shout out to Professor and Pastor Mrs. Oladokun, who are watching us live from the city of Ibadan. They visited Nigeria all the way from Botswana. They're watching and enjoying our show, and we look forward to having you watch every other day. And we'll be back again same time tomorrow. My name is Olive M.O.D.
My name is Joe Hansen.
And I'm Benga Borowa.
And we are the host of Breakfast Central. Jasiri comes in right away. We'll be right back tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Au revoir.